How is it going, everybody? It is the holiday season, and this is your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. We are going to get into a few topics tonight to get us to the end of the year, to get us through the holiday season, as there is still stuff happening in wrestling at all given times. We got AEW World's End happening this weekend down in Florida, so we'll take a look at that. ROH Final Battle happened a week or so back, and we talked about that show, and then it did not quite turn out how we were talking about. So we're going to at least touch on that for a hot minute. And it's the end of the year, so we got to talk about some year-end superlatives, maybe even a look into 2025, all that and more. Get ready, folks. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast starts right now.
Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really need, that Big Gold Belt.
How is everyone doing? We are so glad you are here with us tonight on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. It is a busy time of year. As we head to New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, we are in that little kind of no man's land between holidays here, where there is just tons of stuff going on, and it is busy. And we were trying to get a show out to you, so we were playing with our schedules all day to find a time to get us here. But we managed to get most of the crew together, so I'm glad to see everybody during this very busy time of year. Gentlemen, how is everybody doing tonight?
Happy holidays, folks.
Happy humbug, everybody.
Yeah, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Boxing Day was yesterday. It's a lot going on.
Yes, there is a lot going on. So since I quickly didn't hit our names going around the thing here, let me hit that real quick. I'm Will up here on the top right of the screen. Below me is Damian G down in the Lone Star State. Across from him in the bottom left is Jamal, the Giant Crab. And across from me at the top is the boss man, Najir 2 James, editor-in-chief of Big Gold Belt Media.
Yeah. Gentlemen.
Got to make everything official. Make everything official as we get to the year end here. We're almost to our coming up on our break. We have one more show after this to start the new year, which I'm sure will pretty much be all about Raw on Netflix. We are not going to talk about that tonight. We will save that for next week because there is going to be a lot to get into there.
All I do with everyone say is that they have done a fantastic job getting us to the starting point. Promotion across the board. I've been praising the cross promotion with Squid Games and the NFL. This is how you do it. And now you got the casuals hype. You got the sometimes peeking in, and then ultimately the power of Netflix is going to do what it's going to do. So like very excited for that conversation when we get there.
There you go. Next week, Thursday night, 8 p.m. That will probably be up most of the show, if not the entire show. There'll be some other stuff to get into. Well, hell, we're going to have to talk with the aftermath about what we're about to talk about next week. Let's talk about this weekend to kick things off. So this weekend down in Florida, AEW has their big final show of the year. AEW World's End is going down now. See, is this in Orlando, I believe? Yes. Or Orlando at the what is this place called? The Addition Financial Arena?
Yes.
Yeah, it just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
I'm like, things named after banks and companies these days. I'm like, what the hell is the Addition Financial Arena? But that's where it is. That is where it is going down this Saturday, December 28th. As with last year's edition of World's End, it seems like the linchpin drawing card of this thing is the culmination of the Continental Classic, their December round robin tournament kind of G1 imposter thing they like to do now for the second annual version of that. That's kind of the big hook, but we got some other matches going on there. But let's run things down here as far as what they got going on. So we're going to have the Continental Classic semifinals and finals happening on this show. So as the semifinals stand, it'll be Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher on one side and Kazuchika Okada versus Ricochet on the other side. So that's your semifinals, which will then, of course, lead to the winners of those matches facing in the finals of the Continental Classic. Hell, before we get into any of these other matches on the show, has anyone been really following this tournament over the last month? Or like have some standout like matches, or is the interest there this year? Because it felt like last year, being it was the first one, to me, it felt like there was a lot more oh, what's this going to be? And, there was I felt a lot more buy-in. This year, it seems kind of like, if you're an AEW hardcore, of course you're into it and all that. But I don't feel like I'm hearing as much about it this year, as much hype.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, it's kind of like a sport that I don't care about. So if it's if it's the NFL playoffs, for example, I don't watch football. I don't really care, but you can't really escape, the hype behind the first round of the playoffs. So I'll check out, a couple of games, and then I'll probably watch the last, the championship games and then the Super Bowl.
Right.
If that. So it's not necessarily that I'm hyped about the tournament. It's just that I don't really necessarily am interested in the tournament. I'm more interested in the outcome. So this is the outcome.
Right. That's kind of where I've been. It's like there's been matches here and there, like what Shelton Benjamin's been doing. I'm like, okay, let me see those Shelton Benjamin matches. And like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite when he wrestled Beast Mortos, I thought that was like kind of a really fun match. So there's been people here and there, but the overall tournament has been kind of like, and I think for me it's really a factor of who they're focusing on. As I look at the semi, we're down to like the final four here, and I'm not surprised who's in the final four. It's just one of those things for me where it's like, a lot of these guys I ain't crazy about watching at the end of 2024 as we're going into 2025. It's a lot of, okay, it's Okada, who like these days I'm just kind of like, it ain't 2014 anymore. It's 2024. So I'm kind of like, okay, Okada, yeah, that's one thing. Ricochet, who still seems to be kind of figuring out his footing since changing companies. And I'm not quite sure what's going on with him. There's been a lot of stuff about him online this week. Ricochet and his things he's been retweeting and choices he's made for his character, which are just kind of like, boy, I'm not interested in a social media character. So that's kind of like whatever. And then Ospreay and Fletcher are both guys I just don't have an interest in. So that just kind of is what it is for me across the board there when we get down to those four guys. Damien, anything from you for this?
I am with you on this one, Will. None of this interests me on the Continental Classic. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okada's title, is that on the line every match he's had?
Did they do that this year? The whole time last year, it was wasn't the ROH title on the line or something?
Oh, that's right. With
it was all of them.
Yeah, all of them on the line.
Yeah, it was like three belts in one fused together with the fusion earrings to make this belt.
Right.
Right.
Because what's his face won the thing last year? Eddie Kingston.
Edward Kingston.
It was his whole thing last year. And the titles were on the line throughout the tournament. And then you won the Continental Crown by winning the tourney. So I don't think they've done that this year because it's not like I don't think no one's gone like undefeated through this thing.
No.
So you'd have title
great. Which is great that people have an equal footing in this tournament. But like you said, well, like this isn't the old Okada. It's just an old Okada versus Jadakiss Ricochet, and then Ospreay and Fletcher. Like it doesn't move the needle. I know in the chats like they're saying we're spoiled.
Right.
But I have felt like this about AEW for a while. If it's not a women's match, I really don't care. So this Continental Classic tournament, like you said, it's bootleg G1. That's exactly what it is. Let's not act like it's more important than what it is. It's just a tournament because we all like tournaments, supposedly.
Yeah, I mean, do we like tournaments though? I mean, because that's the thing.
I like King of the Ring when it was originally concocted.
But that's also a thing. Even King of the Ring now is kind of like they have to revamp it to kind of give it something else.
Yeah.
For this tournament, am I really going to be that invested for basically the European title or like the United States Championship? I mean, it's the TNT title is already their B title. They made this thing up, which is not the International Championship, which is a different C title. So. I'm not entirely sure why I should be excited for this thing if I'm not invested in these people in general.
Yeah. I'll say, like, listen, if you peep in and you enjoy the matches, and because the matches have stakes, then you have a little bit of extra emotional connection to it. But like, if you are, I don't know, because I kind of lean towards you three when I talk about like wrestling historians. But like, when you think about like the sort of the prestige behind tournaments, like the magic behind like the Best of the Super Juniors, which obviously is still going, but like what Chikara used to do back in the day, those type of things, they're just not coming back around again. It's just, you're just not going to get that same magic and feel. And even with the Best of the Super Juniors, because you don't really have that much draw in New Japan like you used to, just because of new companies like AEW. So like them doing this to me was kind of cool the first year to kind of see what would it be, would it stand out, and then coming back this year is just kind of just about the quality of the matches, and then it's just been that. For the stakes, for what it's worth, it's kind of like yeah, like Jamal is playing, like there is no connection to it for that right now.
Well, and one of the main things I keep realizing, the matches have been great. And I'm like, well, that's the thing. There's no shortage of good matches these days. You don't need a tournament to have good matches either.
It's just like dream. It's like dream matches
on any wrestling show you watch these days.
Yeah, it's just like dream.
You want to call that spoiled? It is what it is. Now, Jacob M here said, "Hurt Business, don't move, you guys. Shelton is awesome to watch." Hell, I mentioned Shelton earlier when I first started. That's not one of the first matches I thought of when I thought of this tournament. This tournament was good for letting Shelton shine and giving Shelton a chance to kind of like, get his legs back under him and show, hey, I still got this. I can put on some bangers out here. I thought, like I said earlier, that match of Beast Mortos, I thought was really damn fun on Dynamite a couple weeks ago. Yeah. So for guys like a Shelton Benjamin, it gave him a chance to show a little something. So in that respect, yeah, that's all great and good. But when you're at the end of the tournament and there's no Shelton Benjamin in the Final Four, it's kind of like, okay, it gave him that. So that's cool. But I don't know. It's in a lot of ways, I see we're down to the Final Four and say, okay, this clearly isn't for me. But there's an audience of people out there it's for. I'm not saying that. It's just, hey, how am I going to get excited about 4 guys that I'm just not terribly into in 2024? It is what it is.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would say, why are you watching this? But I also think that that's very different than this is can't miss. And that's the distinction. So just because I'm not interested in the tournament itself as a tournament doesn't mean that I couldn't necessarily be interested in some of the matches or some of the people or whatever. Definitely not the whole thing. But it's obviously it's a tournament, so it all has to flow together.
Yeah. What about the other tournament that they host? The Owen Hart Foundation?
Owen Hart Cup.
Yeah. It's just like we get the purpose. Everybody loves Owen Hart.
No.
Like after the first year, you're kind of like, okay, now what, what's sort of the razzle dazzle behind it now? I feel like that's a lot of what AEW has been about the new shiny toys is having this moment, and then after that, it's just so like, listen, by all means, the one thing I must very much firmly say is like you're getting good quality of matches. Like people go out there and they do the work. The people we've been watching all over the world for many years. So
and no one's dogging it out there.
Yeah, there's no shortage. There's no shortage of good matches. But when it comes down to why do you care? There's 1,000 belts. So is there anything special about that anymore? So the next tournament and for the stakes of it, do you actually care about that? You know what I mean? And then, like you say, even tiering belts now, you don't even really know like which holds more weight, the TBS championship, the TNT championship, or excuse me, the TBS championship or the ROH World Heavyweight Champion. Sometimes you just don't know. So
yeah, that men's mid card is definitely packed between. So we got the Continental that this is for, the TNT title. You got the Continental title, the International title. It's like, how is these pieces all hooked together in a hierarchy?
One other thing I will say, because Jacob is making me think. One other thing I like about tournaments is I don't like when tournaments is built around major storylines. I want the stories to sort of be organic within the tournament. So when you get when you let the commentary, the analysts, the vignettes really sell you into these matches is what, again, when you go back to the best of the Super Juniors, like that, you know, it doesn't matter what world it came from or what happened outside of them, the stables that they're a part of, and blah 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 blah. It's really about that defining moment, about the stories that's happening within that match, and then ultimately within the tournament. That's like, honestly, outside of the Jakar's what's the trios one called? I keep forgetting the name. But outside of that, like the Dominion Classic is still one of my favorites, just because of it was really about the story in the ring, and from round around around. Instead of like they had beef on Dynamite last week, here they in here now. You know what I mean? So
all right, let's move on from the tournament, since that's only one part of the show. That's the big focus, but we got other matches on here. So here's matches that are jumping out at me. These are probably the two matches I'm actually, there might be three here I'm most interested in. So we got Mercedes Moné and Chris Statlander running it back after the hell of a match they had last month for the TBS Championship. Yeah. I'm excited about that, but I'm also surprised they're running it back so quick, since that is very much not the MO of how AEW tends to do.
Oh, you know why? You know why? Because when everybody was like, man, there was questions about that signing and which he had left in the tank, that was the match that everybody was like, okay, that was damn good.
Right. If something finally clicks, so we got to make that happen again. We got Mercedes and Chris Statlander part 2. I always mess this up. Konosuke Takeshita. Always mess his name up. I always get tongue-tied.
Konosuke Takeshita.
Takeshita versus Powerhouse Hobbs. That one definitely interests me. That's for the international title. So we have the international championship there. And Mariah May and Thunder Rosa for the women's world championship in a Tijuana street fight. I think those are the three matches I'm most interested in on this card. Very, very different matchups there between those three. We got the street fight deal. We got the international title. We have the TBS title in those. Now, what's left on here is the stuff I'm definitely not interested in. Adam Cole and MJF for that ring. Don't care at all. And then the 4-way for the world championship, Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy versus Adam Page versus Jay White. Yeah, those two aren't for me. So that's our full card there. So what we got there, I told you what I'm interested in. I told you my three. Damian, what about you? What's jumping out at you?
Well, I'm impressed that AEW decided to have 2 women's matches on a pay-per-view card, so kudos to them for that. That shows progress. I'm actually interested in Mariah versus Thunder Rosa, just because Rosa's been getting to show some personality with her signs in the stands, and just reminded me of Cena that one year at Mania when he was in the stands eating popcorn and stuff like that. So the fact that it's a Tijuana street fight, just like, why does it have to be Tijuana? But okay, fine.
You know, she got Repro Hood.
I know, and I get it, but if I remember correctly, when Mariah turned originally on Tony, we saw blood, we saw viciousness.
Right.
So hopefully this continues Mariah May's kind of peek into her vicious side, as opposed to just being the glamour Mariah May. I really want to see how those two styles mesh, because for a while we've had, I believe Rosa was off with injury, so it's kind of been slow for her to get back. So I just want to see, like, okay, now that she's back in the thrill of things or the spin of things, how is her body going to react? And I think doing it as a street fight is actually really good. Kind of minimizes the type of bumps you can take. But I'm just interested to see how those two styles are going to clash. And I will tell you, the Fatal 4-Way does look fun. I'm not all gun-ho about it, but it looks fun. And you know what we like to do here on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast? We like to have fun.
Fun show.
So if this is anywhere near the IWC's wet dream that it could be, then it's going to be a great match. And I know Crab hates Moxley. I know that. It's embedded in the essence of the show. But as long as he's not doing the heavy lifting, this has potential to be match of the night, in my opinion.
So that's an interesting take. And it's not that if he won't do the heavy lifting. He has to do the heavy lifting because he's the odd man out in this match between Orange Cassidy, Adam Page, and Jay White. And then you have Jon Moxley. So if we're talking about a grapple fest, and then you add Jon Moxley, I don't see how that adds up. So it's going to have to be a brawl. Adam Page is still going through his, bat out of hell, arc. Orange Cassidy is still doing that thing, and Jay White is still, dollar store Craven the Hunter. So cool. It's got to be a slugfest. It's got to be, if they put 3 moves together, then color me surprised. As far as what I'm looking forward to, Takeshita versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Give me more Hobbs. Give me more Hobbs doing anything. Hobbs deserves better, and we know that Takeshita can absolutely wrestle, and he can also be the power guy. We know that Hobbs can, good to see him come back after injury. So it'll be interesting to see if he can pull it off and become, another singles champion, like officially this time. Like what do they put a medium-sized rocket on Hobbs to give him a belt? Who knows? Mariah May versus Thunder Rosa is pretty interesting with the Tijuana street fight, largely because for me, Rosa's best match in AEW was the street fight versus Britt Baker. That's the one that I remember the most. It's unfortunate because I know that she's a better wrestler than just brawl, thumbtack, spot. However, it kind of leans into what Mariah May has been doing. And it kind of, and we've seen that Rosa can pull that off as well. So it'll be interesting to see, how that works. And honestly, I don't think that's going to be match of the night, but I definitely think that's going to that could steal the show, largely because of the fact that Mariah May looks like Mariah May covered in blood, and for a lot of folks online, well, you already got a bottle of Jergens by the remote.
That's a category.
Yeah, I already know that somebody's downloaded Avenged Sevenfold for the edits afterwards, to upload to a different website. The point is that I definitely think that this match can lean into that side, which gives the character more depth, both of them. Rosa has something to prove, and honestly, Mariah does too, because just prove that she's more than just a pretty face. The match that I honestly think that that I really want to see most out of all of them, number one, only 8 matches. Khan, what are you doing? We need at least 14. So I don't know what the pre-show is going to be, and also it's tomorrow, which means that is Collision happening?
No.
Or are they doing a Sunday Night Heat thing where Collision is live before the pay-per-view?
I don't think it is, if I remember right. I think Collision is off for the week.
Okay, fair enough. So
yeah, they taped that last one. So yeah, they don't have one in the can or anything.
Okay. So I think for me it's Takeshita versus Hobbs, unless the pre-show has something more interesting. And if they're not, well, Rampage is tonight. So because people are staying up late for that. So they may add something else to the show. But yeah, 3 matches being the Continental Classic semifinal is interesting. That's a good chunk of the pay-per-view. The Dynamite Diamond Ring, do we even need it anymore?
Dude, I mean, no. Continue, so I don't have to talk about this.
Okay. But then again, it is the match with Matt Taven in it. So if there were a bathroom break match,
except for those 5 people that like him.
Yeah, it's true. But they're already there, though.
That's being friendly. They're already 3, but got you.
They will be in Orlando.
Yeah, they're in Orlando right now. Going to that taco bar on the other side of the campus of UCF.
Hey, I like that spot. Hold on.
Hey, we'll talk about that. We need to talk about that. But no, I think it's going to be. I do think overall it's going to be an interesting pay-per-view. I think that can Monet and Statlander recapture the magic that, and this is the thing, and I hate to say it, the match wasn't good. It was just unexpected, which gave it gravitas.
Right.
I mean,
and I don't want to say
surprising.
I don't want to say that it wasn't good, as in like, oh, this match sucks. Y'all just wrong. It wasn't like I wasn't blown away by it, but people just expected less, which elevated the thing up.
And if anything, now the bar's been raised, so the expectations are higher now.
Right. So that's going to be kind of a thing to see how that plays out. So interesting pay-per-view. And of course, every match is a gimmick match or a championship match. So I don't mind it, but it's just kind of like an okay pay-per-view. I don't really feel the like, they got my $50 this time. Can't wait. Pre-order it right now. But it should be good pay-per-view though.
I want to work Sunday Sinner from YouTube in here real quick. Thunder Rosa has lost all the luster she had in 2021-22. She doesn't need to be around the women's title at all. So many other women who deserve that spot. So no, Thunder Rosa be closing out the year.
I think Thunder Rosa has always been a, whoever cup of tea she is. Honestly, since her, I like Thunder Rosa. And I think a lot of the reasons that she was so vocal about her title run and how she was handled and the contradictory between the men's and the women's division on injuries with titles, rightfully so. So I feel like, for the sake of what happened to her, but for the sake of like the controversy around her, I think it did leave a bad taste in some people's mouth, but some people did receive it. So like for the folks that did receive it, okay, I'm like, yeah, I want to see her get back to, where we know she could be. She's world-class talent. And I think that, whenever you step down the streets of the mean TJ, in her elements, it should be a good match. And I think this is a good way finally and properly to get her back on the right track. And also, her with the signs and stuff like that, I got to give it to her. She's on Busted Open Radio. So obviously using other medias to her platform to draw some attention and relevancy. But also if that's not working, then I think like doing something like that to catch people's eyes, I think this is good. So I'm actually excited for that. And I'm really excited to see where she gets back into the mix of in the women's division for 2025.
But to that point, though, I do believe that this is a little bit more of the match that we got and not necessarily the match that we want, because we're talking about a women's world title match. So are there other women rather, that could be in that position to battle Mariah May for the women's world title? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's in question. But since this is the match that we got, it's and it is framed in the package of a street fight, something that Rosa, for me, again, excelled at, and then something that Mariah May is leaning into, it can and does make sense. It doesn't have to be for the women's title, though, because really, if it ain't Willow, then what are we talking about? But again, that's the match that I want, not the match that we got.
Right.
So fair enough.
Hey, Will, before you switch, just to go back to Damien's point.
Okay.
Well, we got 2 women's matches, so we're doing something, right?
Progress as we end 2024. Last thought on the show since Robert Brown threw this in. Is this going to happen or not? I don't know about y'all. I hope and pray Christian Cage cashes in on whoever wins the world title. Do they finally do a cash in, whatever their version of Money in the Bank he has on a clipboard hidden away?
Listen, I'll take this one. It's just like how randomly one day I just decided that I like guacamole. I don't know where it came from, but I was just like, damn, this shit is so good. That's how I feel about Christian Cage. So I am so for this. So
do it. Close the year with it.
Make it happen.
Well, who does he beat? Does he take it all? Does
Adam Page?
Orange Cassidy? Okay, I was going to say Adam Page or Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, someone win the title and then immediately lose it. And
honestly, Adam Page makes sense because his heel run right now, it's funny too, because Adam Page is possibly the best heel in AEW. Meanwhile, MJF thinks he's the biggest heel in all of pro wrestling, and it's not even close. It's not even close.
You burn a man's house down, dude. That's enough for me.
That's why I said so I ain't have to talk about it. Exactly, Jamal. Exactly.
One person One person has evolved and changed up their act, and another has been going with the same hand for years now. I will leave it at that. All right, here we go. Halftime on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. We will hit that. When we come back, we will have our WWE ID Spotlight, and from there, we'll take a quick look at what happened at ROH Final Battle, and then last but not least, some year-end superlatives, because who are the standouts of this year? Standout matches, standout moments, that kind of stuff. Some year in review to close things up tonight. So we are so glad you're here with us. Stay with us, folks. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast will be back right after this.
A little birdie told me, everybody, that you may be interested in doing some sponsorship and advertising opportunities with us here at Big Gold Belt Media. You know what? You might as well, because we are the golden standard for all of your media needs. Why would you want to go anywhere else? Besides, all of your pre-roll ads, your mid-roll ads, as well as your on-air reads are going to be done by me, Damian G. Yeah, professional broadcaster, Damian G. We do all types of social media promotions. That means your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, and your business website all get shouted out on our network here at Big Gold Belt Media, where we cover wrestling, movies, comics, and more. And you can find out more information and make those inquiries, kids, because limited time offer here at Big Gold Belt Group at gmail.com. Again, that is Big Gold Belt Group at gmail.com. Why would you want to go anywhere else? I wouldn't. Well, I work here, but I still wouldn't even if I didn't. So again, Big Gold Belt Media for all your sponsorship and advertising opportunities, your podcast, your IG, your Facebook, your Twitter, all of your social media platforms, as well as any business website you want us to promote on our show. Big Gold Belt Group at gmail.com, and let them know Damon G sent you.
Thanks for joining us tonight here on the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. As after our halftime break, we've been checking out what's happening with the WWE ID program. So here's Jamal with this week's WWE ID Spotlight.
And this week we're going all the way up to the Northeast to take a look at the very evil, very gay Aaron Wark. And I hope they let him keep that name. I really do. But we'll see what that looks like on the other side. But Aaron Wark, yes, he kind of reminds me of like a Malachi Black type of a character, just very gay and about a foot shorter. Lanky, jump out of the gym. All of the superlatives that we've given a lot of especially the male WWE ID candidates in the past. It's very much so that you don't know what you're going to get from this guy. A couple matches that I've been watching, it's basically like, oh, yeah, this guy is Effie if he actually started the call. Okay, cool. And then some other matches are like, oh, this is like evil, Tyler Breeze or something like that. And like, okay, I can jive with this, but as far as the work, he definitely, has the ring work. A lot of, and obviously that is relevant to who he's facing. And one match in particular that I would say you should go check out was uploaded to Beyond Wrestling's YouTube channel. Chris Statlander versus Aaron Wark. But she's in AEW, and he just got ID'd. It's a damn good match from their show from a couple weeks ago. It's a very fun, hard-hitting match, and honestly, from both of them, I like this character. I don't know if it's too much for WWE, and this is obviously the Statlander that I want to see, from Beyond translated into AEW. Go ahead.
Yeah, questions. Number one, I hope it doesn't get so political so that these type of things can't happen in terms of an ID person working a AEW contracted
on the indies. Yeah.
On the indies. Because that screams messy. That's not something we talked about at all as a possibility. So that's one. Number two, if they ID'd them, then what does that look like to say, we want you, we just don't want your gimmick? And again, I think if you're ID'd, it's because you've been ID'd because you are some measure of a package that they want to mold into something bigger. And I think the essence of who and how you were discovered definitely still has to be the catalyst of what you're going to be going forward. And that's really been about 80% of the wrestlers of what we know them to be, either their move sets or their gimmick, and it's just evolved into a bigger thing. So I think this is an interesting one that I really want to keep my eyes set on for everything you've said thus far.
Right. So the gimmick definitely could be polarizing or not, and it'd be interesting to see how how WWE handles that, because we've definitely seen controversial gimmicks before, and not even that this has to be controversial. It just is what it is, and you're always going to piss somebody off, especially in 2024, 2025. But since WWE is in the marketing business that just happens to market wrestling, can they sell this? And what would they look like in the version that they're trying to sell? That's, for me, is going to be very interesting to see what comes of that. So Aaron Warwick, evil gay Aaron Warwick, get it right, is definitely one to look out for. WWE ID'd him, and of course we had to take a deeper dive on him too. If you want to see him, New Year's Eve, they're actually
there's a big match coming up.
Yeah, big match coming up New Year's Eve. You got it's Beyond Wrestling up there in Worcester, Massachusetts, and it's a lot of Zeta Steel is on that card, and a lot of interesting matchups for the whole card. But this isn't about the card; it's about Aaron Rourke. He's facing Timothy Thatcher. And on the card itself, it says this is an official WWE ID showcase match.
Love it. I love that they're doing that. I've been seeing that floating around too.
Yeah, I've been seeing that floating around too. So everybody's been getting their warm-ups and their sweatsuits and stuff like that from WWE with the official ID branding. So it'd be interesting to see how that changes going forward. Will he come out as himself? Or is it official, like a WWE prospect type of a thing? Since this is
the ID tag becomes your gimmick.
Exactly. So it's a lot of moving parts.
Hey,
with whatever
gets thing. Whatever raises the price.
Little A, a little B.
I mean, listen, as signings, people say as seen or as featured. So why not make it part of your booking?
No, absolutely. And of course, if you look on the Twitter, you see how he's already, first thing it says is WWE ID prospect, and then everything else, everywhere he's been in the Northeast after that. But it's Aaron Rourke, and he's been Perfect Aaron with one R, Perfect Aaron 1 on the Twitter. Aaron, you gotta get a scissor reel, bro. We got to make it easier for us to find you. We need that scissor reel.
I will say, I just quickly check the socials. What I really like about the gimmick is not a one-trick pony here. We see many different looks. And I think when you look at something like that becomes something that they realize what they can really do. I mean, maybe a far reach of a comparison just because of the paint and the style of the paint, but I think it does fit. Finn Balor, you say all of the different sort of cosplays that Finn Balor had used, and as soon as Finn Balor got to NXT, they said not do it all again. So I think run it back. And I think this is something where they say, like, this is a look. Many looks, many fashions. We'll the wrestling, I don't know, but I'll check. But like, I think just to wrap this segment, I think this was definitely a good one, just off of first looks and first appearance. And some of the sentiments you said. So I'm beyond interested to see what Aaron got coming up.
Now, of course, as we go along, and this is like the fourth, fifth, sixth one that we've done. We definitely are starting to see a pattern with the style and type of wrestler that they like. They want somebody that's not done, but they definitely don't want somebody that's undercooked. They want that sweet spot about 10 minutes before you take it, he's ready to come out of the oven. And so they can just throw in an extra little splash on the back end because he's done 99% of the heavy lifting. The only thing that he needs to do is do it on television for WWE. And so unsurprisingly, Aaron Rourke got the nod. He's been ID'd, and so we had to take a deeper dive, and that's the ID spotlight for this week.
There we go. Things are getting interesting as we head into 2025. This is going to be a very interesting year. The folks getting the nod like this. That match with Thatcher, that's very much going to be a how ready test. Are you? Yeah, that's a test. That is a test. And after that match, they're going to be talking like, so how was he? How was he?
I tell you what, if Thatcher doesn't have some backdoor deal with WWE, it's coming, because Thatcher's out here doing Lord's work out here for them, because you see he's very much involved with anybody that's in the ID talk. So
him and Gabe, exactly. He's a Gabe guy, and this is Gabe's project. So clearly he's essentially, they can't put Regal in the ring no more. Thatcher's probably filling that role,
Yeah.
And Gulak's name is Mud. Otherwise, he'd be doing it too.
True.
Right. Oh, absolutely. He got messed that up right there.
Right. So
had a job.
Like we know. So if we definitely could think of a bunch of names where like this is right up their alley, and it's like, oh well, oops. 2015 happened, so we ain't doing it.
Yeah, and listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Quack is somewhere in the shadows.
See, I wasn't even trying to say it. I wasn't even trying to say it, but you already know.
Might be some tapes getting sent that way to critique these tapes. All right, enough about that. Let's not do any speculation about the back inner workings of the ID program before we get ourselves in trouble, or people start saying there's rumors floating around and it's just us talking out the side of our heads. All right, right quick, since we talked about it on the last show, ROH Final Battle went down, and we were definitely there were a couple key points that we talked about on that show that we felt needed to happen. Right quick before I get to those, I will say I thought Lee Moriarty and Nigel McGuinness absolutely stole that show. I thought that was by far the highlight of the night. Somehow it didn't even occur to me that Nigel might be on the card. And then the moment it happened, I was just like, well, of course, damn Nigel was going to somehow be on this. So that was a pleasant surprise all around, because somehow it just never popped into my head. So that happening was awesome. And him and Lee Moriarty, hell of a pure championship match in the middle of that card. So I would recommend it. If there's anything on the show you should see, if you haven't seen it, that's the match. See that. The two main events were what we mainly talked about. And this is how they went down. We talked about these, and we're like, what were they trying to do here? Chris Jericho is still your ROH champion after defeating Matt Cardona. And the women did close the show as we hoped. And Athena is still your ROH Women's Championship, defeating Billy Starks, which was a match. I remember, Jamal, you specifically said you were looking for that loop to be closed on Billy Starks finally getting the win, and it did not happen.
Right.
So thoughts on that? Because I think was our biggest thing we talked about.
I'll be short.
How is that women's match going to go down?
I'll be short and sweet. Obviously, everything I speculated about Chris Jericho seems to be kind of very true. Like there's just him being a championship is because of possible business ramifications.
Hoping for a TV deal.
Yeah. So womp womp. Athena, man. Listen, my thing is that I think it's not a debate that she was the best women's wrestler of last year. And although she was behind the paywall of honor, you would only hope that she would lose the title to be elevated to Dynamite and just being on the AEW roster. But obviously her being a champion is still a good look one way or another. And even at the scrum, she just oozes championship pedigree. Like she could just, she's a champion. That she's a worker wherever she's been, or a champion wherever she's been. It could have went either way for me. But now it just really comes back to the idea of now what happens for Billy, because I think it was really the predictable moment where we all thought what was going to happen. So maybe there's more left there, but I don't know. Right now, it definitely is a hair scrap. But I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing to take the non-predictable route and iron this out just a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's not a matter of predictability. I didn't say that I wanted Billy Starks to win because I wanted a safe conclusion. I wanted Billy Starks to win so that Athena can get, that Billy can get her comeuppance, number one. Number two, Athena can be shown the door and then pop up at the pay-per-view this weekend.
But yeah,
you know, so yeah, selfishly, I wanted Billy Starks to win for non-ROH reasons. So, and yet here we are. Now, whatever happens to this, you know, whatever happens going forward, fine. I mean, like, what's the worst that could happen? You know, like there ain't too much. And you know, Athena's been injured. Athena's, you know, obviously she's come back. You know, it's just like, what else do they do? Now, it would be interesting if, to be fair, I think Athena deserves a bigger stage, but obviously she doesn't necessarily need the bigger stage. Her rent's paid, checks coming. She's good with being a champion in ROH, so be it. But maybe this elevates Billy Starks a bit. She went 25 minutes with the champ to close out the pay-per-view. That's kind of that's a good loss if there is such a thing. Maybe she shows up somewhere else, you know, pops up, hey, this is what we're going to do with Billy Starks. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah. Well, on that note, is the whole thinking behind it this? Looking ahead just a week or two, January 5th, Wrestle Dynasty, they're doing this whole International Women's Cup 4-way with a wrestler from AEW, a wrestler from CMLL, a wrestler from Stardom, a wrestler from ROH. So the way that's shook out now is we have Willow Nightingale as the AEW rep, Persephone as the CMLL rep, Momo Watanabe as the Stardom rep, and Athena now as the ROH rep. So you think it might have been as simple as, if we're doing this big match and how it's in the Tokyo Dome, so you know what that means, Athena should be the ROH rep to give it that gravitas, and then once that's done, maybe that's when finally you do the title change. And this is kind of like the capper on, give her this big international spotlight, and then start the year with a switch.
You mean to tell me that they kept the belt on Athena so that she can do, and this could be wrong, a pre-show match at 5 in the morning in Japan?
Ooh, it's a pre-show match? Goddamn, you're right. I see that here on the wiki. I didn't even realize that detail. I didn't even know that. I just knew about the match.
Right. And the match would be interesting if it were, you know, a bigger thing. But number one, it's in Japan next week. And number two, it's a pre-show match for the International Women's Cup. So that's okay.
So wait, is no one going to talk about the magistry and the spectacle that was QT Marshall versus Jay Lethal?
I mean, to be honest with you, that's the only match that I saw, and I definitely had to move and move through some underground passages, and I definitely got some
under the paywall
right now. But
Jamal Rosa Parks his way to Ring of Honor.
Oh no, I was for sure
his way to Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I mean, but QT is the beacon, and I am the moth. So it was a good match. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. A solid. Well, they said they went 12 minutes, but it felt a lot shorter than that, and it just proves that like AEW has has arguably the best mid card in North America. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, that's both a blessing and a curse.
Listen, it's like when I used to play Madden, and when you can turn on the setting to allow all trades.
Yes.
Well, obviously you take all the best players, right? But after a while, those other folks end up becoming your secondary, your backups. Of course, they're going to be good too. I mean, no one's denying the world-class talent across the board here. So if you're not in the main title picture, of course they're going to be down in the mid cards, in which these folks could be anybody, could be leading anybody.
They gotta go somewhere.
Yeah, so like, yes, it should be the best mid card ever because like they're top tier quality. Jay Lethal literally can be a big signing anywhere he goes. Jay Lethal is not on AEW Weekly. That's a problem. Right, along with like 15 other folks. Right. And Athena.
Right. And Billy Starks. I mean, to be fair. But
right.
yeah,
And Billy Starks is somebody you easily can say, like, yeah,
there's no shortage of talent. That's 2024 wrestling.
And that's never been their problem.
Yeah.
That's never been the problem.
It's how you utilize the talent.
For all the reasons that Hook is being praised, that could be Billy Starks on AEW.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially if they want to go that, she just got out of second grade type of a thing. Even though, but that's only a gimmick that you can go with for the short term. The long term, she's a hell of a wrestler and went 25 minutes with champ.
Yeah, Hook and what's his name? That is what is his name? God, that his mom is also with Christian.
Nick Wayne.
Nick Wayne. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe Billy Starks has to finish her story. That's what we gotta look forward to.
She's young. The story.
You're right. You're definitely right at this point.
All right, we got about 10 minutes left, and 2 Chains, you gave me the perfect transition for this a second ago. So I latched onto that in my head. I was like, oh, this is perfect. So you just threw out there that Athena may be the women's wrestler of the year. All right, for you called her the women's wrestler of the year. So if we're talking 2024 year-end type stuff, I don't know what we think about that. Damien, you're a women's wrestling aficionado. If it's not Athena,
To be clear, I said Athena last year. This year for me is Nia Jax.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, who? All right. So let's talk women's wrestling. Let's start there.
Go, Dan.
Who we thinking? Who is the 2024 women's wrestler of the year?
Roxanne Perez. And I'm going to say this because of the different types of wrestlers that she's either had to work with, who are not wrestlers by trade, who are performance center graduates, so to speak. We did the first match with Julia on prime time on the CW. Welcome to NXT, Julia. She's wrestled Jada Parker, Lola Vice. Like the list goes on and on. The different types of wrestlers she's had to work with because she's quote unquote the prodigy. Now, say what you want about the gimmick or the heel run. Take that out the equation. I'm talking about just strictly in ring. They have given her so many different types to work with, but they trust her to see who's up, who's got next. Like, okay, we want to put you with this person, see what they got. And I think that for me shows a lot of faith not only HBK has in her, but also shows, we said this about Thatcher earlier, you always want that one person who can work with anybody and can make them look like $1 million. And I feel that that's what she's done in NXT. I mean, we don't have a Tom McGee of the women's division for Bret Hart making Tom McGee look good. But if I have to say, if I got to go main roster, I actually agree with 2 Chains. I was going to say Nia Jax, and it pains me to say that because I've never been a Nia Jax fan. But all things considered, she's done this really well. Her I don't know, I call it like a den mother at this point, gimmick where at 1 minute she's bringing up Tiffy, the next minute it's Candice, who they got out of mothballs to be a part of all this now. So kudos to Nia Jax for coming back healthy and actually doing something with the time allotted. So I'll go with those 2.
Yeah, I don't understand why we do this thing here on this show where folks decide to take people's answers and elaborate on them, and then be like, "Oh, but you go," so you can just repeat everything I said.
No. I don't. That's
he said
not
Roxanne. He said Roxanne, and then went to give Nia Jax like a quick 2 minutes of why he picked her too. Like Jesus Christ. Also, just to add, because Damien doesn't say everything, she won Queen of the Ring, and she almost was in the finals for the new whatever super belt that they got out there. But yeah, other than that, she's just worked,
whatever that is.
The Crown Jewel Championship.
Yeah. So other than that, I mean, she's been very relevant in all storylines. She's your women's champion right now. And just the quality of the Rumble that she had, which a lot of people didn't remember, she legit had a good outing then. So Nia Jax, that's it. Great year. Hate her or love her, but you're talking about her.
Right.
That's a good point. Jamal.
I was going to spend 5 minutes on Nikita Lyons, but we don't have that kind of time. So I will say that my official answer is Toni Storm. I think that she had the best. The gimmick change was great, and then of course storyline was great. It blew off, and that she's returned from like the CIA black site that she thinks that she was in, from complete amnesia. It's really surprising, how fun that was and how good that was, and the fact that it's self-contained means that we could revisit it, but we don't have to. And it was just a great run. It was far and away the best thing the AEW has done all year, and that's including all of the gimmick matches and tournaments and whatever that they have, the 96 belts that they got. The thing that was, even if I didn't watch every week, the thing that I was interested in every week was what was the next move for Toni Storm versus whoever, whatever she had going on. So yeah, easily Toni Storm. I think Women's Wrestler of the Year.
Yeah, I would say, to quickly kind of tie this up, I think I gotta agree with you, Jamal, that I think Timeless Toni has to be like the gimmick of the year, probably even possibly across all wrestling, because that just clicked on so many damn different levels, and that is the one area where I'd put her ahead of Roxanne Perez, as far as like she got that character and got it over, and it was by far the most entertaining thing in AEW in 2024. In ring, I probably like Roxanne's matches a little better, but Toni was by far the total package of the two. So I'd probably go Toni Storm 1A, Roxanne Perez 1B, right under there. It's for different reasons on each case. But yeah, I think Toni Storm had a very special year. And if anything, I'm really curious how the hell she's going to follow it now in 2025, because it was just such a unique deal she had going on. And including they're trying this deal now with her, and whether it's amnesia or whatever it's going to be, they're getting creative. May or may not work, but that time will tell the tale on that one. All right, we did the women. Let's end it with the men. Who's the man of the year across wrestling? Who you
Go ahead, Damien. Just take my idea. I know you.
I'm not gonna take your idea, damn it. Okay, Ludwig Kaiser.
We outside the box here. Let's go. Let's go.
The change in this man from Imperium lackey to the Aiden English of Gunther's ring announcing to being a part of the Intercontinental Championship picture when it was Braun, then it was Jay Uso, and then with Sheamus back involved. Then you have Butch kind of smattered in there somewhere. He's been the detestable heel you want to see get his comeuppance on TV every week. The Miz used to be that guy, but now we got an even smugger looking guy on TV in Kaiser, and you can conceivably take him away from Gunther and he still would get over because he's an asshole. And I think that is what we need, as far as he's a good technical wrestler, yes, but in WWE crowds, little kids want to hate somebody, and he just has that punchable face, and the fact that he'll play up the accent and the gimmick like old school Triple H or old school William Regal in the Blue Bloods, like shim shim, like that kind of heel I love. And to see him progress from Imperium to now, give him the belt, give him the Intercontinental title, and let's see what he does with it.
Man of the year. This is tough, because should it be QT for the 9th year in a row?
It was coming.
But to
boom.
I mean, to be fair, QT and AJ pulled out a match out of their ass and got people talking about it. Full stop. And also, I didn't say that Stephanie McMahon was the Women's Wrestler of the Year, for the 12th year in a row. So hey, anything can happen. But I'm stalling. I do think I don't want to say CM Punk, and I'm not. But that's like the first that kind of easily jumps out at me. But I gotta go with Trick Williams. I think Trick has had a hell of a run. Definitely same thing with Roxanne Perez, where it's just like, it's only don't Billy Starks this up. They've done what they needed to do. It's time for them to graduate. They are 9th year seniors at Chase U. Get them up out of there. And I think Roxanne should be on her way out. I think Trick should be on his way out, hopefully at the Rumble. but I think he's had a hell of a year. Definitely one of the people in NXT, other than Andre Chase, to be honest with you, is that's who I was looking forward to the most. So yeah, I think there are other names that I can name, but they just haven't been consistent throughout the year. I could say Strickland, not consistent enough. I could say Orange Cassidy, not particularly consistent enough. And then of course I'm thinking of the indies too, and like guys like Chris Brooks, who I generally love, Cara Noir, who I generally love, but just not consistent every month or so. But as overall, just thinking back over the year, yeah, I'm gonna go with Trick.
All right, short and sweet. I was going to go Shane Strickland. Also, was going to go with Jey Uso for just both relevant reasons. I feel, consistent years at the top. Only thing different with Jey. Well, I would say for the both of them, I felt like there was a measure of scrutiny about one. Could you operate as a singles wrestler? Yes. Won the IC championship, got his singles run, and then for Swerve is like, could he be the face of the company? Definitively, yes. And consistent through the year with that. And I will also say that the mogul gimmick, which of all the gimmicks that are similar to it, his worked and continued to work, and the different iterations of it worked. And even now, without the title, still becomes interesting watch. So, yeah, those are my two.
All right, we're all going to have different ones this to go around on this topic. All right, I'm going with Gunther. If we're talking consistency, Gunther from January to December was always in the mix, was always in a high-profile position. Started the year with the record-breaking Intercontinental title run up to WrestleMania, where Sami Zayn put an end to that. Then they immediately transitioned. He could have got lost in the shuffle there. That could have been like the end of his run in WWE. And I was like, nope, switch gears. We're putting him right into the world title picture, get that rolling, made him a champ in the summer. And he's been rolling with that since. Did the little storyline in November where he was doubting himself because he couldn't win the Crown Jewel deal. But year through, Gunther was like the cement holding things together, where just everything he was involved in was always rock solid. So I got to go with Gunther for my guy for 2024. So,
and also, Will, they tried a tweener thing with him recently too to see if the crowd
came out in them jeans
to it.
They hated it.
I'm with it.
Oh yeah, this 2025 is going to be interesting. But yeah, they're clearly trying to tweak the formula. That was the only little shakiness, but that was only in the last week or two. So I ain't going to penalize them all for that when the rest of the year was so damn solid. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, we're at our hours. We'll leave it there. Maybe next episode we got some time on our year ender. We get into matches or cards or something like that for high points of 2025, but 2024. Yep. But it is what it is. All right, folks. So next Thursday night, 8 p.m., we will be back for our big final show before we go on break. It will be all about Netflix. We'll talk about AEW World's End, I'm sure, because we'll have the results of that. But a lot of the focus of that show is going to be that Netflix debut for WWE, since this has been coming for months, and it's finally going to be here on January 6th. So we will buckle in big time for that to start the year. So in the meantime, let's run down all the plugs here of all the different things. So on social media, it's at Big Gold Belt across the board, whether we're talking on Instagram, X, Blue Sky, all your platforms, it's at Big Gold Belt. If you're looking to watch the show next Thursday night, we are streaming live on Twitch, YouTube, X. The video feed lives on later on YouTube, so if you don't catch it next Thursday night, it will still be there on Big Gold Belt media page. So plenty of ways to watch, and of course, the audio version drops shortly thereafter, so we have you covered on audio and video. On the web, it's BigGoldBelt.com, the home of Big Gold Belt Media, wrestling, movies, comics, and more. Since we got the boss man here, let's really quick hit it as we're closing out the year. What you watching? What's like the hot thing to close the year with?
Nosferatu.
I read
came out.
Your vampire Christmas movie.
Yeah. Spectacular acting across the board. Just great atmospheric horror, and what else can I say about it? Yeah, the acting, the performances, the performance from the actor, atmospheric horror is yeah, for a story I didn't know much about. I really enjoyed it. Very easily to get really really to almost get like really comfortable with what's happening just to be uncomfortable. Damon, you're not gonna like it. It's a lot of jump scares and unhinged behavior. So yeah.
Thanks, boss. Appreciate
it.
I thought the choice to drop Nosferatu at Christmas was very interesting.
Me too, but I think it has a lot to do with them knowing that this was an award contender. So I think they were trying to pick a spot, and that seemed to be the only spot it wasn't going to get so much competition from. So
well, it makes it stand out for sure.
Yeah, definitely a choice, But yeah.
All right. There you go. As we like to say, it's more than just wrestling here, Big Gold Belt Media. So like we say, wrestling, movies, comics, and more. You can check all that out at biggoldbelt.com. But
hey, can I follow up with something really quick?
Get in here.
Remember when I said I was going to see Kraven the Hunter and that there was no way it could have been as bad as Morbius?
Uh-oh.
I was wrong. That was horrible. And I'm sorry I paid for it, but it's just as bad as Madam Web. So anyone else who paid to go see Kraven the Hunter, I'm glad the Sonyverse is out of its misery. Please never again, because holy shit, I went in there with positive hopes. I left mad at myself. Like I could have gone to the gym. I could have done a whole bunch of other things, but no, I had to watch Kraven the Hunter, and I regret it. So I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, since we've gone around the room, let me end on a positive note. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is cinema. It's peak cinema. And dare I say that I haven't been moved to tears by the power of film since Schindler's List, maybe.
What?
In all seriousness, it's actually really good. And the thing is that it does what it intends to do. Don't overthink it. It's just a lot of fun. If you see it in a theater with like a 4K laser or Dolby Cinema, the colors jump off the screen and all that stuff. If you are one of those people that are definitely going to get some extracurricular activities and go to the midnight show, then yeah, you're definitely going to have a very different time. But it's, I played the games as a kid. The story is actually pretty goddamn dark, but it's colorful, so the kids don't care. But and then it ends inconclusively, so they're going to push it on for another one. And Sonic 4 has already been confirmed. I'm not saying it's the best picture of the year. It's not even close. But it has to be said for something that is as effective as it is for doing what it intends to do. It doesn't have to win all of these technical awards. It's just an hour and 50 minutes of fun. I mean, that's really all it is. If you expect more, you won't get it. If you expect less, you'll probably be surprised. But if your expectations are right where they need to be, it's a good way to spend 2 hours.
So the holiday movie viewing schedule or recommendations from Big Gold Belt Media are as simple as this. See Sonic, see Nosferatu, stay far away from Kraven. There you go. All right, folks. Next Thursday, we will be back. We'll be talking Raw on Netflix. We hope you see you with us then. In the meantime, get ready for New Year's Eve. Don't get too crazy. We need to see you next Thursday night. So until then, stay safe, and we will see you in 2025. Talk to you later.